are, when they do the gene mapping, the genome project, they are trying to find out every ingredient of gene and what it does. So then if you know what it does, it becomes a formula, and you start fucking up the genes. You say, oh, this gene is the one that regulates height and growth. All right, let's start fucking around with that. It's not like one exact gene, but anyway, they know the genes that work together to, that is the master of producing your height or something like that. So they start fucking around with that, and they did that in animals. They figured how to do it in animals, and that's how you now have ligers, which is a tiger and a lion, that they're not supposed to mix together, by nature's law, okay? And you have hybrid animals. I'm not going to give more descriptions of that, okay? That is also how you have these cows who are pure meat. Like they look like Arnold Schwarzenegger on steroids. And that's a redundancy when I say that. So they have figured out that, and they've applied it to animals, okay? Those animals have a, first of all, they are known to be, I forgot the word for it right now, but they can't reproduce, okay? They can't reproduce. At least, thank goodness, Mother Nature has, as far as the animal kingdom goes, made it so that this shit can't go on too much. They just have to keep colonizing the genes to make other hybrid animals like that, but the hybrid can't produce another hybrid, okay? Thankfully, the laws of nature won't allow that on the animal level, okay? The animals usually have a shorter lifespan. Apply that to the white person. Apply that to the beast. A lower, okay, now in the animal world, they cannot reproduce. But in the, on the human, the, half human world, this beast, this Caucasian person, they can reproduce. However, their fertility level tends to be lower, and that is public knowledge. I'm only saying that because you hear that in the news a lot, okay? Or you can research it and say their fertility level is low, for whatever reason. It's on the man's side, because they have to use Viagra to do anything, and then it could be on the woman's side, just that she's just not as fertile. All right, so just apply those truths to the hybrid person, okay? So that is why they need your fucking melanin, okay? Bring it back around to melanin. That is why they need to, and they've always been eating you. When they, I didn't know this, and I know my dad doesn't know this, and I'm, when you have such knowledge, really it's hard to keep your mouth shut. Like, this whole world becomes irritating, because you're just surrounded by such stupidity of other people. Like, their brains are locked down. You can't even tell them anything whatsoever, because they are just so surrounded by, they are just enveloped in a case of ignorance and lack of knowledge, and they're just asleep. They're unconscious. They're in a bubble. They're in the bubble of the matrix, like on the level of being inside the womb of the matrix. So they're like just a baby, they're an infant inside the matrix. So anyway, they have been eating mummies, mumia, okay? That's what Bobby Hemmit researched. There's books that talk about how they would eat the mummies. But people are thinking, they ate the bones. No, they crushed them up and they made a powder out of them. I mean, it's not like literally like, I mean, you have to think of how can they ingest it. They crush it up. They crush it up to a powder form. And you mix it with liquid, water, obviously, and then you drink it. That's it. That's how you eat a mummy. So how are you going to eat a black person? Oh, I don't even want to know. How you're okay. You're eating, I don't know how they do it, but obviously they're not eating a lot of it. They're eating little vials of it, okay? If you research on the YouTube, people can buy vials of melanin, and when they ingest that, because it's not a chemical, it has to be the real thing in order to get the real effect. So you have people that buy melatonin or I don't know the name of it, okay? I don't know the brand name that they're disguising it, but it's your actual melanin. These people, it's a natural melanin, because that's the only way it could work. That is the only way it could give them the real effect of a black person. They buy this melanin in vials, and they have to keep taking it regularly, because when they stop taking it, they revert back to whatever they were, but it changes their skin color. Their skin turns brown, naturally brown. We're not talking about putting on bronze tanning lotion. We're not talking about any lotion, and then getting into the tanning bed, and basically you have, solidified the paint layer on your skin. We're not talking about that. We are talking about people can now buy melanin, but they're calling it something else. And when they ingest it, and after they take a certain level of doses, it affects their biology, and they start to turn brown. They become brown. So I'm just telling you that truth. And what I'm telling you is that this is what the movie Consumers is talking about. Now, as I said, this TV show, this episode is so subtle that only if you have the knowledge you will see through to how they even thought of this fucking episode. That's the whole point. You look at these shows and you wonder, first of all, if you're on the frequency, you know they don't have an ounce of creativity in them. They're not creative people, period, because they don't have the genes of creativity in them. They're only users. They're only cyborgs. They're only robots. They can only take, exploit, and use other people. That's their makeup. That's their genetic makeup. So when you see these interesting sci-fi movies and TV shows, that is because all of the people in Hollywood are, um, I almost want to say scholars of the occult. They really are. Do you know, and this is a side note, do you know that Jimmy Carter has a PhD in mythology? And you think mythology is some fake stories? Jimmy Carter has a PhD in mythology. And it'll be a great day when he dies. When these beasts die, I'm like, good, another one bites the dust. But anyway, Bobby Hemmit pointed that out. So the thing that you think is nothing, the people that control the world know that it is how the ancients explained alchemy. That is what mythology is. They wrapped it up in a story, and they wrapped it up in people, characters, but it is actually telling the science of the universe, how the energies of the universe work, and the gods are energies, and they're more than energies. They are the construct of the universe, but because we get to come down to earth. Earth is actually heaven. Earth is actually your little paradise as a god. And I remember, excuse me, I'm about to bite the side of my mouth. I remember learning that when I was a kid. I don't know how. I remember learning the idea that, okay, there's so-called Greek gods, and they would come down. I don't know where I'd learned this, but I learned it when I was just very little. The idea of there are gods, and they came down to earth to explore a physical body. And again, I can't remember how I learned that, but when I was very little, I'd learned something about that. So, and that's supposed to be mythology, but it's actually true. This earth realm is really, if man didn't fuck it up, if you just remove man out of the equation, this is paradise. This is heaven. You have all kinds of magical things happening here. I mean, when you look at the animals, the different kind of animals, they're just amazing. You have animals that can come out of the ocean and walk, like the starfish. The starfish can walk on land. I'm not going to get into how awesome the world is. Well, we have lost that wonderment about the world because it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful place. It's a beautiful place. You have endless everything. Whatever you think about heaven, you actually have it here. You have such diversity of weather and such diversity of plants and food and fruit and all these interesting animals that do all these amazing things. A lot of things for you to explore, but you're exploited here. What you have here is a free life in paradise. But the people that know the ancient secrets have made everybody a slave. They have made everybody into a slave and working for an invented paper money. And nothing is yours, even though you're born on the land like a weed. Wherever you're born, you own that land. But anyway, it took them a long time, and they have just we're at DEFCON 10 level of destruction here. They are at DEFCON 10 level of war against you, because the universe, however it functions, it gets to a point where, okay, where naturally there has to be a destruction cycle in order for there to be a rebirth cycle. So we're at that point. And spiritually, on a spiritual conscious level, this beast is just, it's time for him to, it's time for the greatest energies to come back and destroy this motherfucking beast, because he's just totally out of control. Now, why are we allowing this shit? That's just how it is. There's no explanation for it. That is just how it is. But thankfully, there's going to be an end to this. And it comes from your waking up. Just like, let me get back to the TV show. When that young man stood up for himself and knew his power and said it directly to his oppressor, his conqueror, when he said it to his face and he said, "Look, I know my power," and he didn't say these exact words, but I'm paraphrasing. His message was that I know my power, and I am going to be fighting you every step of the way because I know who I am. Then that's when the consumer, the beast, the senior people said, "Look, we don't want to deal with that, because they know that he is the source of all power." So when you know that, then they know that they're finished. They know they're finished. So, and I'm talking about in the story. So in this reality, this very effed up reality that we're living, when they know that you know, and you look them in the face with your true power, then they can be destroyed. Now, this needs to happen on the matrix level, but thankfully it's going to happen anyway on a spiritual level, because something higher than us, not higher than us, excuse me, our higher selves are going to come back and burn up this motherfucker. Literally. Like, you see some sci-fi movies where the people just vaporize. That's what's going to happen. The Bible says that. And the Bible, other people think that people believe in the Bible. The Bible is almost common knowledge. Like, you hear about it so much. I can make references of the Bible, and I didn't study the Bible. You just hear about it so much because it's pushed on you so much. But people in other countries think that every single person in America is a Christian or something, and they're not. It's your choice. But anyway, it's just common knowledge. It's a book of common knowledge, in my opinion. But anyway, there's something in the Bible that says how the world gets destroyed. And it talks about back then it's by flood, but the next time it'll be by fire. It is that fire, and I learned this from Bobby Hemmit, of course. It's your Kundalini fire. So, I'm going to end my talk now. And in my last words, I direct the energy of my words to awaken the spirit and consciousness of anyone listening to my voice. And I say that with the power of all the ancestors going back to the origin and before the origin of creation, which is the substance that is inside of you. And I know this to be true. May you know it to be true. And I also give all thanks to Bobby Hemmit. The end.